Hi there, Sage Candy of VO2 Max Productions here with another training talk. Today we're going to talk about moving up in distance. Whether you've maybe run a half marathon or marathon on the road and you're looking to do your first ultra marathon, or you've been running on the trails a little bit, done shorter races on the trails, maybe a 50K trail marathon, and you're looking to move up to 50 miles or 100K. This video is going to kind of talk about the transition and how to get into that, what your best training strategy is for moving up in distance, and what it's like to tackle maybe more mountainous trails or trails that you're not used to. I also first wanted to point out that I'm wearing my Compress Sport compression socks, recovery socks. If you go to Compress Sport, the Compress Sport USA website, you could enter in a code SAGE, my name, Sage, all in caps, 14, that's Sage14, and you get 10% off your order. So shameless product plug there, but sponsorship plugs aside, let's get into the training talk. So the first thing to look at when you're moving up in distance is your training history, and obviously having a consistent high mileage background is going to help ease the transition. But understand, most people work full time, you've got family obligations, all sorts of things going on. So, do what you can in the time you have, whether you're running 30 miles a week or you're maybe running 50 or 60 miles a week. Consistent higher mileage generally is going to play into your strengths. And this doesn't have to be hard mountain runs every day. You don't have to go burn up the track. Just getting in some easy paced mileage, added easy paced days, or running 5 days a week instead of your usual 4 days a week. Things like that are going to go a long way in building your endurance and stamina, which is important for longer distance events. And you should do these runs pretty easy. I run a lot of times 2 minutes a mile slower than my marathon pace. I'd recommend most people probably run at least a minute to a minute and a half slower than their marathon race pace, especially if you're in the 3:45 to 2:30 marathon range. So take your easy days easy, add consistent mileage. Then the other big variable when moving up to ultra marathons is looking at the course profile and probably building in more vertical into your training. Now, what I mean by vertical, I mean adding hills. You say, hey Sage, you know what, I live in Flatland, Oklahoma, or wherever, or Florida maybe. We don't have any big mountains or hills. Well, ramp up the treadmill. That's, run over bridges if you have to. I think someone commented that you do bridge training in Florida to get in some big hills. Run up flights and stairs, run up and down tall buildings, use stairs. So whatever it takes to log extra vertical into your training. And I don't do a ton of vertical. I don't run up mountains every day. I mix it up. I do flatland days too. I run on the track sometimes. A lot of times I'm on a flat bike path. So adding some vertical according to the course profile is going to help you a lot, because generally in these mountain ultra trail events you have to ascend and descend quite a bit, and it works your leg muscles differently. You will fail structurally if you're not used to the pounding of downhills and you're not used to the muscle tension you need to generate and the mechanics of going uphill. And if you want to check out more info for hill running techniques, you can visit my girlfriend Sandy Nightpaver's YouTube video here on uphill and downhill running form, which I'll link to you right there. And if you want to learn about more hill training strategy or incorporating hill training as workouts into your training, you can check out my hill training video, which I'll link to there. But yeah, so you're periodizing your training with easy runs, you're adding in more vertical, you're trying to be consistent with your mileage. And then the other thing you're trying to do is get in consistent long runs. Now, I usually run more on a 9-day or 10-day cycle, so I don't necessarily do a long run every weekend. But most people work during the weeks and you have your weekend off, that's where you put in your big mileage. So it would make sense to do a long run on the weekend. And every weekend doesn't have to be the same. You're not always going out there and busting your butt for 20 miles. Maybe some weekends you're going 18 miles fast. Maybe other weekends you get to go play on the trails for 24 miles. And obviously if your mileage isn't that high, let's say you're running about 50 miles a week, maybe your long run's only in the 12 to 14 mile range. It doesn't have to be these crazy 30-mile long run numbers. I didn't get up to 30-mile long runs or 28-mile long runs till I was running well over 100 miles a week. So, do what you can with the time you have and the energy you have, but try to get in some efforts where you're spending time on your feet, out in the elements, because that's really important in these ultras, is not necessarily how fast you run, but how much time you're spending on your feet at a certain work output. And then what kind of goes into that energy expenditure over time, pacing yourself, burning fat, is the nutritional side of things. Like hydration and glycogen depletion are going to be huge during an ultra, and you could easily cross that edge and totally bonk, and it's going to be a total disaster. As the distance and time increases that you're running, bonks become exponentially bad, and things like stomach distress and dehydration could also be really bad. So you're going to go out there, you're going to want to take some energy gels most likely, or at least some sort of calories, whether it's trail butter, or you're taking V-Fuel gels, or you've made your own little snack. Definitely you're going to need some calories, definitely some carbohydrates, and definitely something with some electrolytes in it, whether it's a sports drink or maybe just a little bit of extra sodium in your water, or you have some electrolyte tabs or something like that. So how often you take that depends on how hard you're running, but general rule of thumb is you're probably going to need something at least every hour. You're probably going to need at least 100 calories an hour. And there's definitely some strategies I do on long runs where I deplete myself of carbs by not really eating much of a breakfast beforehand, going out and running. I wouldn't usually recommend that, but you could definitely experiment maybe a little with that. Generally most people are pretty tired anyway, so you just go out and run. Make sure you don't cross the line too far and totally bonk, because it's not fun. And in a race, obviously, you want to take in more at aid stations. So that's another big variable, is you actually do have pretty big aid stations during a lot of ultra races, and you probably do want to spend some more time there than you'd think. A lot of times people are in a rush to get in and out of the aid station really fast, but it's better in your first ultra to spend the time, catch your breath, get down some fluid, grab enough food, make sure you're restocked with enough gels, and get out of the aid station slowly and patiently, and not be in a rush and forget something. Because a lot of times, coming from a marathon road background or half marathon background, you just think like, I'm not going to stop, I'm just going to keep running, maybe I'll grab a cup and just keep moving. Well, in an ultra, it's usually better to actually stop and take some swigs, maybe talk to your crew, get your drop bag, things like that. It's not as much of a rush, so less pressure there. But in any case, nutrition, very important. And I'm going to have maybe some more future training talks on nutrition for recovery and nutrition for general health. If you're interested, leave a comment below about that, and whatever gets the most thumbs up, I'll go with. So we've covered hills, we've covered consistent mileage. The other thing, as a road runner, being a professional marathon runner, I actually ran more miles training for the marathon and training in college. I ran up to 150 miles a week training for 8K cross country in college, actually, and now I usually run around 90 miles a week. It's just time on the trails takes a lot longer. When you're logging more vertical, you're running slower. So I'm spending maybe the same amount of time training, but my mileage isn't as high. And so, it really is about time on your feet, keeping track of some vertical in your training, getting in the ups and downs, and still periodizing your training and workouts. You're still doing speed workouts, you're still doing tempo runs or lactate threshold sessions, and you're still doing long runs. So if you want to, see any more videos on periodization of training, also let me know. I think if you search through my channel, you could find a couple on the training theory, but it really doesn't change that much if you're training for 26.2 miles or you're training for 50 miles. What changes is when you look at the course profile and you realize how long it might take you. So I feel like I've just barely scratched the surface of some of the things to think about when you're transitioning from a road marathon or half marathon up to a mountain ultra trail event. And I guess another main thing to touch on would be gear. You definitely want to wear some sort of trail shoe. I wear the Hoka 1-1 Huaka, and it works great on, I've worn it in all the trail races I've done this year, ultra marathons, from 50K to about 50 miles in different conditions. And definitely something for your hydration. I obviously sponsored by Ultimate Direction, and I wear the Jerk Essential belt with big pouches, so I could put all my V-Fuel gels in that. And then you also want probably at least a 20-ounce handheld. I carry handhelds a lot. Some people put use a bladder or put the 2 20-ounces in their Ultimate Direction vest, but definitely something to carry fluids. And depending on the race, how frequently the aid stations happen, you might need more than you think between certain aid stations. So for example, when I was running the Tarawera 100K in New Zealand, there's a good 10-mile gap between a couple aid stations, and I found that one year I ran out of water between that gap. So the second year I made sure to load up with extra fluid before trying to make that gap. And then the other thing, maybe there's only a 5-mile gap between aid stations, and maybe you have support from a crew there, then you don't have to carry as much. And you definitely want to always be restocking on your calorie supply, your caloric intake, and monitoring that. I'll take a V-Fuel gel every 20 minutes during really high intensity ultras like Speed Go 50K. And also be chugging water and electrolyte fluid along the way, maybe even grabbing a banana at the aid station. So you make some decisions on the fly. I've even grabbed like chicken broth accidentally at an aid station in Europe because I thought it was some sort of energy drink, and it was warm like chicken broth. It was not appealing to me at the time, but there's all sorts of different things that you have to kind of learn for yourself with nutrition strategy and what gear is most efficient or fits you the best, and things like that. But chafage will be a more serious problem as well. If you're used to road marathons though, you're probably pretty well prepared with using Body Glide or something like that, maybe putting Band-Aids on the nipples, and what clothing works for you as well. And some races more extreme than others, maybe it's pouring rain, sleet and snow, high altitude, you might want to pack a jacket. Hat and gloves go a real long way, especially because you could always ditch them maybe at an aid station. Same thing with a headlamp. A lot of races start at the crack of dawn, and you're going to need to be able to see pretty well for about an hour or several hours at a time if you're running a race throughout the night. So a good headlamp will also go a long way in helping you out there. And these are things I didn't know about when I ran my first ultra in 2012. And I learned a lot of different things over the years, and I'm always still learning. Every race presents new challenges to tackle, and you're relying on experience from the past, but you're also making decisions on the fly and learning a ton with your pacing strategy, gear strategy, nutrition strategy, and things like that. And even through training as well, doing a lot of different course profiles, I've learned that I need to train a certain way for different courses and get experience on different types of terrains. So that's my rant on moving up in distance. As always, thanks again for all the views and support, and I hope you share this video on social media as well. Thank you so much, and feel free to comment below with any future training talk topics that you'd like to see on this channel. And again, the one with the most thumbs up, with the most votes up, will get my attention likely, and I'd like to continue with a new training talk series on whatever subjects you guys want to hear about. So thanks again, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.